I'm meteorologist Ryan Weekman, and you are joining us for Off the Radar, a familiar name, but a brand new program for you right here on WTOL 11+. I'm not by myself here. We're going to geek out with you over the next 15 to 20 minutes. I've got meteorologist Matt Willoughby, Kaylee Bowers. Great to have you guys along today.
Yeah, good to be here. I mean, let's loosen up a little bit. We don't have the ties, the jackets. Let's do this thing.
I know it's even bow tie Wednesday, and I'm like, no, we're not doing the bow tie today. We're going to have a lot of fun, though.
So excited. It's a brand new thing, kind of rebooting. You did this in years past with a different weather team. How excited are you that this is back?
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So for those that have never watched Off the Radar before, this is a chance for us to get off the green screen. We're still absolutely going to be talking about the weather, but it's also a chance for us to have a little bit of fun as well. If you guys don't know a meteorologist Matt Willoughby or Kaylee Bowers all that well, I promise you by the end of today's episode and our future episodes, you're going to like them a lot more, I promise you that.
Yeah, we'll get to know at least our viewers out there a little bit more, a little bit on a personal and relaxed level.
But like I said, we are going to geek out. So this show is going to feature some of the most incredible weather video from across the country. But it's not just us three in the studios. We know you're out there watching. So we've got YouTube comments up live and running as well. So we're going to be reading these off as we go for us this morning. Let's do this, Kaylee.
Yeah.
You're going to be kicking us off here with your top three. We're each going to have a story that we're going to run here. What did you decide to pick in the world of weather videos? You could have selected anything. What'd you go with?
So we're kind of getting into the winter spirit a little bit. Some places have seen, exactly. I mean, we're weeks away.
By the way, I don't want to, Kaylee is our Christmas decorator in the WTOL Weather Center. She doesn't mess around.
She did it up the past couple of years. Honestly, I've been impressed.
We'll do that in a future episode, but we are getting the holiday spirit. So you got some snow?
We are talking about snow. Not just us here in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan have seen snow, but in fact, places in Denver have seen snow. Let's head over here to what we call our bridge shot. One thing you guys probably know, I am short, unlike Matt and Ryan, so I have to.
What? Why didn't you tell us? This is a question we get a lot. You do have a box you stand on, right?
I do. I have a very tall box. I mean, it's probably at least, I'd say 6 inches tall. And I'm wearing heels, by the way, too. So, yeah, we are talking about some snow. In fact, places in Colorado have seen feet of snow. I'm talking 20 to 40 inches of snow. In fact, let me show you some video that we have if we can pull it up. If not, no big deal, but check this out. Again, this is in places in the Rockies, Colorado. Denver saw its 11th largest snowstorm of the season. In fact, its third largest November snowstorm. Now, this was around November 9th, November 10th, and November 11th. But as far as what we're seeing across the country right now, let me show you this really cool weather graphic because we're not seeing any snow yet here in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. But again, places in the Rockies, this is what we're seeing. Denver, parts of Colorado again, Idaho, all the way up into Oregon, Washington, California. Again, those higher elevations seeing inches and feet of snow, but we're also talking not just cold and snow, but the opposite, heat and fire. And that's where we bring in meteorologist Matt Willoughby. Matt, what are we seeing over there?
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of some warmer things. We're talking all things fire. We also got some video for you. Some of those wildfires we are seeing, throughout the Northeast. Typically, we don't usually talk about, wildfires in the Northeast, but that's definitely been some of those conditions we have seen out there. This is from a viewer sent in from at least CBS of those wildfires out there. Yeah, they are really blazing. And some of those are controlled just to at least stop those from going into those residential communities and everything. But this has been something at least we've been able to talk about this past week. So as we at least flip over to those weather graphics, we're breaking down all things wildfire. So with that, those wildfire conditions, the combination, it's dry weather, warm weather as well, and also windy conditions, which really makes that perfect recipe for some wildfires out there. So when we talk about the Northeast, that drought monitor, wind gust, and relative humidity, those really are the three components you do see when it comes to wildfires starting. So to break this down even more, we're still seeing some West Coast wildfires out there, out in California, Oregon, Nevada, and also those New England wildfires as well. To break it down for you, one of the more familiar ones we've been talking about is that Jennings Creek wildfire. About 5,000 acres have already burned, but it's about 80% contained, and that estimate cost about $500,000. So this is one of the things we've been talking about. In that area that we have seen some of that wildfire, it has been a mandatory evacuation area, and just over 5,000 acres have burned throughout the Northeast for us as we've gone throughout this past week. Look at that drought monitor. This has been the true key of why we're starting to see a lot of those fires start up. We've seen an extreme to exceptional drought in most areas, and even severe drought throughout the Northeast, and still dealing with those conditions outside. So to break this down and really chop it up for you a little bit in all four, we have that Thomas Road wildfire, only about 10% contained, 155 acres burned. That Coffee Pot wildfire out in California, actually 14,000 acres burned. And out into Middleton Pond, about 242 acres burned, 60% contained. And that Old Forest wildfire out in Massachusetts, 50% contained. So as we look at the November precipitation over the next month or so, we're still seeing those fires out there with those dry conditions. So that precipitation throughout this month is really going to be dry out there throughout at least the next several weeks. So of course, we're not stopping here. We got more and more, and we got meteorologist Ryan Weekend standing by with a little bit different. We got, Scythia, Oregon, but you're tracking something with the state of Oregon, right?
Yeah, we're taking a long plane flight here. We're going to the other coast for us this morning. Check this out. We've got big time waves that are coming up on the west coast here. By the way, if you're watching us, I've got our stream up. Let me know where you're watching from. I want you guys to know. I'll give you some shout outs. First one that says their city. You guys get a shout out here. This is Off the Radar. We're going to have some fun. Look at some of these big waves. Even the locals were checking it out with some very strong gusty winds. And not only that, but off the coast of California, winds were strong enough to produce waves potentially as high as 28 to 30 feet. That's off the coast of Northern California, where high wave warnings were in place. And further inland, this storm, the same one that's going to bring us our first snowflakes later this week, yeah, it's bringing feet of snow to the Pacific Northwest. So let me break this down for you, just like we've been doing here, right? So you get to see some of the cool weather video from across the country, and then we get to geek out about it as well. So when we look at this system, I always relate things to food. It's just kind of the way I operate here. I look at this giant system and I say, look at that cinnamon roll spinning right off the coast of Canada and the Pacific Northwest for you here. This is a major bomb cyclone. It's a storm system that's getting deeper and deeper, stronger and stronger for us. Look at right inside of this thing here. So that's what's churning up the ocean and causing those big time waves, as I was saying. Look at this. As you get down deep into the Pacific Ocean here, we're talking waves over 25 feet high, even for that part of the ocean, extremely high surf. And of course, when you talk about the winter side of it here, we've got 5 different states that are under winter weather advisories, warnings, even some blizzard warnings in the Cascades. I want to show you what's happening down in California here. That's where the most impressive snowfall totals are going to be measured in the feet here as you go up towards the higher elevations. The very high tops here could be seeing 5 to 7 feet of snow when it comes to this system. So very major is what we're looking at for us. Some of the coolest video that we've seen from across the country. And I know when we're looking at this one, Matt and Kaylee both sharing some of that video with us as well. Kaylee, what do you think? I know you had some impressive snow. Nothing measured quite 5 to 7 feet, though.
Not to the extent just yet, Ryan. I mean, definitely not ready to be talking about snow, but again, it's on its way. And something else that we kind of want to feature here in Off the Radar is a lot of you guys ask, what does this word mean? What about this? What about this? This is the first weather word we have for you. This is radar. You hear us talk about this quite a bit. This is an instrument used to detect precipitation by measuring the strength of electromagnetic signal reflected back. So basically it's radio detection and ranging, which is RADAR, which stands for radar, right? And that's a big term that we use, again, in the weather world, not just here in Northwest Ohio, but meteorologists, whether you're on TV or not.
You really geeked out there.
I've learned from you.
I wasn't quite prepared for that one. I love it, though. Our weather word of the day. Now, we've got plenty more Off the Radar coming up, including, did you or family members, were you affected by those hurricanes this year? Meteorologist Kaylee Bauer is going to be back here to break that down. Plus, your photos and your comments. Stay with us right here, Off the Radar.
And welcome back. Right before commercial break, meteorologist Ryan Weekman mentioned we had a very impactful hurricane season. We knew someone or we knew someone who knew someone that was impacted from the tropics. A lot of us have been down to the south. And also, just want to show you what we saw with the 2024 hurricane season in the Atlantic. So again, this is what we are watching for the 2024 hurricane season. So first thing, hurricane season officially begins around June 1st, and technically we are still in it. November 30th is when it officially wraps up, but sometimes the tropics are a little more quiet, sometimes they're a little more active before and after that time. It just kind of depends on the water surfaces. Now, typically we see those hurricanes really start to peak up around the beginning to middle of September. Around September 10th, September 11th, we see those tropics really start to fire up, and this year was definitely a good example. Now, one thing people ask us, how do you measure how strong a hurricane is? A big thing are the winds. You can see right there from a Category 1 to a Category 5 hurricane, you could see winds from around 74 miles an hour all the way up to over 157 mile an hour gusts for these very strong and powerful winds. And in fact, we saw some very strong hurricanes this year. And in fact, this is what we saw forecasted earlier this season. Typically, we'll see about 17 to 24 named storms, 8 to 13 of those being hurricanes, and 4 to 7 of those being those major hurricanes. Now, again, hurricane season isn't over just yet, but what have we seen so far? 18 named storms, 11 hurricanes, and then how about this? 5 major hurricanes. I'm sure you remember some of the names: Beryl, Milton, Helene, and I want to talk about some of these names that you see right here on our list. Again, all these red you see, those are the ones that we've already seen for the 2024 hurricane season. And again, if we see our next hurricane, our next tropical storm, it could be Tony. So really cool graphic I want to showcase with you. Hurricane season again starts June 1st, typically wraps up the end of November, and we saw a very active September with those very strong and powerful storms. Again, Beryl, Helene, and Milton. Those are the 3 that I do want to talk about real quick. Now, Beryl, it was a Category 5 hurricane, and this happened the end of June and the beginning of July, made landfall in Texas, impacted folks in the Texas area and also in the Gulf of Mexico. But one place I do want to talk about, Hurricane Helene, not only impacted the Tallahassee area, the Florida Panhandle, but moved its way up the East Coast, impacted parts of North Carolina, Tennessee. Now, Helene was only a Category 4 hurricane, but still very strong winds. Look at that, 140 mile an hour winds. And just think of that with Beryl, saw a Category 5 hurricane. And with Milton, we also saw a Category 5 hurricane. And speaking of someone who did see this, Chief Meteorologist Chris Vickers, he was down helping our sister station WTSP in Tampa, Florida. He was down there live with the team down there. I mean, he has some stories I'm sure you saw on his social media pages. But one thing that's really interesting, it just depends on where you go. As far as a hurricane placement, we're talking the strong winds, the tornado potential, and just from the right rear to the front rear, there's just a lot of strong movements with this very powerful storm, guys. And we like to geek out like we talked about.
I was going to say, I knew you liked hurricanes. Wow.
Crazy.
I shouldn't say like. It's a very fun thing to forecast. Of course,
Sure.
a lot of people have been impacted. We have friends and family that have been impacted.
Of course.
So, yeah, it's been very interesting.
Yeah, so Kaylee, how does this, hurricane season compare to the past years, and why was this year such, a historic year?
So we actually did forecast above average hurricanes for this season, and that's exactly what we did see for the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. Very powerful, very impactful. Again, like what we saw with Beryl, Milton, and Helene especially.
By the way, before we went on the air, Kaylee got me with a trivia question. She said, what was the busiest hurricane season on record?
Yeah.
I made an incorrect guess here.
Yeah?
I said 2005. I was thinking about, we had Wilma that year, we had
That's a good
Katrina.
guess. Yeah, that's a good guess.
But you stumped me. What was the answer?
It was actually 2020.
Really?
You can get this up in the graphic right.
Wow.
When it eventually.
Sure, it's
But
2020.
it's 2020. We had 30 named storms that season, but 2005 was also up there as well.
Yeah, I knew that was a big one, but you're right. That year we ended up going into the Greek alphabet. We've been asked before, what happens if you go past like the standard Roman alphabet? The answer is, there you go. So
And I remember Hurricane Delta specifically because we're thinking, okay, how do you retire a Greek alphabet? So what happens is it's Hurricane Delta 2020. That's how it is retired.
interesting.
Okay.
All right, so very interesting. Love the weather facts and all about the hurricanes. We know it was a busy season. Great wrap up there, Kaylee. All right, we've got more off the radar coming up next here, including, we said we want to hear from you. Let's see some of your viewer photos coming up right after this break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now, we asked you, at least over the week, to send us in your weather pictures. You know, we always have, our soldiers boots on the ground, sending us pictures and videos all across whenever there's, just a sunset or a major event going on, weather event. And we got some pictures for us right here. We got our first one right here, really getting on the ground level here.
Sure.
Right in the neighborhood, seeing a great sunset out there for us this
I think it's Erica Germain. Thank you for sending in
Yes,
this
thanks,
photo.
Erica.
Love to see these ones for us here. These are sent in. We've been getting a lot more of these photos. People are starting to realize, we've been telling folks for years, but they're starting to realize now. On our WTOL 11 weather app, you scroll down, you click the viewer photo or submit a photo on there. Bam, just like that. How easy is it? And we love to see them. We can get them on the air just like this one right here. Speaking of cool sunsets, this is one of those red sky and morning. You guys know how to finish that one off? Sailor take.
It's a sailor. It's
I might be too young for that
afternoon
one,
delight.
Yeah, I didn't.
I think we were messed up in our ear by one of our producers right there, Kaylee. Let's go ahead. Can we show our producer who's back there, by the way, Alexis, who's talking in our ear here during the show. Listen, we geek out. We want to show who's behind the scenes too.
Hey, Alexis.
What was your guess on that one?
I thought it was that one song. It's not. It's not that one song.
Alexis, were you
Haley,
singing,
I'm sorry.
You
I'm
were
sorry.
singing Dixieland Delight in my ear, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think it was Dixieland Delight that
I
she
don't know
was
what it
singing.
was.
It sure
The
sounded
other
like
one,
it.
I don't even want to say it again. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
So we've got Alexis, our producer, back there. She's going to chime in during our shows. We've got our director, Tim, who's back there. Tim Manor, who's over at the controls.
I have to slide way over to see you guys.
And we've got our
He's kinda
digital
busy.
team, who we're not going to show today. They said we're too shy, but we're going to bring them in for future shows for us as well. So yes, we love to hear from all of you. Tori,
Hang on, I gotta
congratulations.
slide
You're
back
our-
to hit the buttons.
Oh.
Oh yeah, hit the button.
Yeah,
Hit the
that
button.
one,
Bring us
turn around.
back. Bring us
There we
back.
go.
There we are.
Perfect. Whoa, hold on.
Oh.
Tori, I'm going to give you a shout
Man.
out, but look at this one. This is cool. Break this down for me. What are we seeing? We've got our flanking. Where is this one at, Alexis?
This is from Tracy.
Tracy. So we've got the rain coming down here. We should do a show where we just geek out on weather photos. I feel
I'm
like I
down
could just
for
do
that,
this all
honestly.
along.
I mean,
I'm
this is
being
kind
honest.
of a preview of what's to come.
I love it. All right, so a good storm photo right there. All right, we are so glad to be back. This was Off the Radar. We're going to have fun. We're going to be back every single Wednesday for you. We're going to have some new shows for you. We want to hear from you as well. And by the way, Gold Star Tori, you get the shout out for today. Our number one commenter on our show for
Hey,
Off
Tori,
the
I
Radar.
see you.
Sorry.
Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you again next week. Take care.